So here's a simple definition of a paradigm shift: an important change that happens when the usual or accepted way of doing or thinking about something changes completely. A paradigm is a pattern, an example, or an archetype. It can be a perspective or a set of ideas. It's the way we look at something or what we believe. A spiritual paradigm shift is a transformation in consciousness or awakening where we can feel, sense, or know our God source, the divine energy. The term paradigm shift was made popular by historian and philosopher Thomas Kuhn. He says that paradigm shifts become necessary when the structure of the existing paradigm becomes so full of holes that a complete overhaul that once seemed so scary now appears as a lifeline. I can so relate to this. There are many different examples of paradigm shifts. A paradigm shift happens when one paradigm loses its influence and another takes over. Some personal examples of mine were that I used to believe that the only way to make money and survive was to do a job even if I hated it, and that I'd have to work really hard, usually for someone else. Another one was the fitness paradigm, where again, I overdid it. A paradigm shift is a change in the perception or beliefs of a person or group of people. For instance, how social media completely changed how we communicate with each other. A paradigm is a core way of thinking about an aspect of ourselves or the world. It happens on a deep level, not just a surface level. It can certainly be said that those of us that go through an awakening experience go through many paradigm shifts. That waking up experience, that pop, so to speak, changes our perspective from a deep inner knowing. It changes our reality. It turns everything around. We shift into different vibrational states of awareness. We can get so stuck in our belief in a paradigm to the point that we will fall on our sword. It can take a major event in our life to shift us out of one paradigm to hopefully a better one. Shifts can happen seemingly without us, meaning one day we wake up and we can tell that something has shifted. We feel lighter and less encumbered. Have you noticed that an issue or pattern that you've been struggling with maybe for years, as it lessened and lessened until one day you no longer felt the need, the urge, or the compulsion? You might notice that something that used to trigger you instantly into a reaction no longer has an effect. Sometimes we have a pattern that we're well aware of and we want to change it, but it keeps popping up, much to our dismay. And then one day, finally, it's just no longer there. You may not even notice it right away. How about a shift that presents in the material world? For instance, an environment or a place that you've been to many times that has a very low vibration and negative feeling, and then suddenly one day it no longer feels that way. The people there seem happier and friendlier with no apparent reason. Is it the place? Is it you? Or both? A paradigm shift. We can really get stuck in a paradigm, sometimes for years. I've had a couple huge paradigm shifts in my life. One was in my marriage. It's hard to explain the experience, but it was sudden and powerful, an utter realization. It was bigger than an epiphany. I've heard many people describe their ayahuasca experience as seeing things so clearly and sometimes one big impactful thing. The same thing happens to people that have a near-death experience or Kundalini awakening. They see one big thing, one big block or pattern that's been holding them back in life, a false belief, seeing something that you don't have to do or believe anymore, that wasn't serving anyone. Where might you be stuck? What are you holding on to? It can be so many things. Sometimes we can't see the forest for the trees, so we can get stuck in a paradigm for years, both personally and collectively. Maybe you work with a group of people that share a paradigm, and maybe it needs to shift. They say we can purposely change a paradigm, first by deciding what we want and defining what we need in order to believe in what we want to achieve, then acting in support of the new paradigm. Not impossible, but not easy. For fans of Joe Dispenza, he teaches that our thoughts and meditation can help us to shift. He says that conscious thoughts, repeated often enough, become unconscious thinking. A shift changes the way you see yourself, the world, and everything else, And you won't notice it until you do, and then everything will look different to you. We are at a choice point in evolution. Take a quantum leap and be the master of your life. Be part of the metamorphosis in the one consciousness from a caterpillar to a butterfly. The big shift that everyone has been talking about is here. You just have to step into it. It's up to each of us.